Hello and welcome back to the Now We Know Show, the show where we discuss a topic of interest and by the end we will have learned something new and hopefully you will too. I'm Zak.
I'm Buzz.
I'm Jakk.
Yay!
Jack's back!
Yeah, I'm back.
It's Jakk, Prepper Jakk.
Yeah, Prepper Jakk.
Prepper Jakk. We've got him back in the studio. So in this week's episode, we're getting real festive. We've all got our Santa's hats on and we are basically
Channeling Santa.
Santa.
The Christmas spirit.
Yeah, with our big ginger beards.
Yep, everyone has
We're-
ginger beards.
Yeah, we are our good old Viking Norse Santas.
Ho, ho,
ho, ho, ho. And we are looking, since we're so festive, we're looking at our top 10 list of gifts that you can give to the holy trinity of preppers, bushcrafters and survivalists.
If you enjoy the Now We Know Show podcast, why not support Zak Wylde Productions on our Patreon page? Become an official ZWP patron for as little as £1 a month for exclusive early access to all our latest episodes, videos, behind the scenes, updates and more. Okay, so before we get into that, it's time for Word of the Week.
Oh, word of the week.
Word of the week.
Word of the week.
Word of the week.
Join in, Jack. Word of the week. Word of the week. Word of the week. Word of the week.
So, the word of the week.
Sorry, Jack. We sort of jumped that on, Jack, didn't we?
So, Word of the Week is all about old English words we don't use anymore. All you have to do is write down what you think it means in the comments. We will then reveal what it means at the end of the episode so you can find out if you got it right.
What's the word of the week this week, Zak?
The word of the week is crepuscular.
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 Jack's looking a bit puzzled on that one.
Do you know what crepuscular means?
Do you know what crepuscular means?
I have no idea what
I'm gonna,
crepuscular
I'm,
means.
I'm
The
gonna,
challenge is to, 1, know what crepuscular means, 2, get it into a sentence.
crepuscular is spelt Crepuscular.
Crepuscular.
No Googling.
Yeah, no Googling is against the rules.
We will reveal what crepuscular means at the end of the episode.
That's all I'm going to think about for the whole episode.
Go on, say it, Jack.
Crepuscular!
Huzzah!
Yay. So, with Word of the Week out of the way for the moment, let's turn our attention to what we're doing. That is Crimbo presents, Christmas, Winterfest, Yule, call it what you will, for, as I mentioned, the holy trinity of preppers, bushcrafters and survivalists. Because you can't have one without the other generally. If you're a prepper, then you're bound to be into your bushcraft. If you're a bushcrafter, you're into your survivalism. If you're a survivalist, you're probably into your prepping.
Camping, stuff like that.
Exactly. So we've got this holy trinity, as I like to call it, of those areas. And if you know somebody who, they might be somebody who's been into those things for years, or they might be just starting out and would appreciate a gift this Yuletide.
Something, a treat.
Exactly, a treat. And so kind of what we've done is put together, I don't know what's on your lists, guys.
We've all got lists.
You've got our Santa's list.
Christmas lists.
Exactly. What I asked you to do was to write down your top 10 items that you would think about gifting somebody, with the only parameters on it that, because everybody's cash strapped at the moment everywhere, is to make sure that it was more of a kind of budget price gift. It doesn't mean that that's, a piece of tat.
Has to be reasonable.
Yeah, but you're not. What I did want you to do is to, as Jack said, stick down a Jackery power pack, for 250 quid, or
Good grief.
a set of solar panels and battery bank
All
and
the Jackery stuff I get advertised
Well-
and sent towards me is like £2,500.
£1,000.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
In an ideal world, money wouldn't be an option.
Exactly. So yeah, we're looking on like budget things that you can give to somebody. And what I also did was I went onto the social media sites and I chose 2 social media sites which I find very helpful in the past, because if you have questions and things you can bounce it off people. So I chose the UK Preppers and Survivalists Facebook page and JJ Outdoors, run by Justin Jules, who is a bushcrafter, and that's full of people who love their bushcraft and everything else. So I put the question out to those 2 Facebook pages and basically got a lot of interest back, a lot of ideas off people as well. So that's our 4th list, if you like.
Okay. So
So
in total, it'd be like 40 items?
Yeah, so we've got ours. So what we'll do is we'll do it in reverse from what we've listed down as our 10th and work our way back, and also look at the lists and see if there's a corresponding items that have been suggested, or items maybe on that list that aren't on our lists that we haven't thought about. Yeah?
Sounds good.
Sounds good. But what I will say, when it comes to Christmas, Yule, Winterfest, whatever you want to call it, when it comes to buying gifts for somebody who does prepping, bushcraft or survivalism, there is no such thing, and I'm going to stress this. There's a lot of people will say, oh, I don't want to get them something because they've probably already got it. Yeah? That is the wrong attitude.
Yeah.
When it comes to
I would
this,
agree.
you can literally buy somebody 10 times over the same thing, and they're going to say, thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
I've got
much.
some spares.
Because I've got spares, especially like if it's a tin of beans. 10 tins of beans.
Well,
Great.
what's that saying?
There's a saying that we always use in the bushcraft and survivalism areas, and that is 2 is 1, 1 is none.
There you
Because
are.
if you've got 2 items, say 2 knives, 2 ways of lighting a fire, if you break one or lose one, you've still got one. So 2 is 1. But if you only have 1 and you lose it, 1 is none.
I have
You
a
see,
similar sort of thing that my friend told me when playing Warhammer is if it's worth taking 1, take 2.
There you go. So we working on that principle, listeners. You can't go wrong. Don't scratch your head and think, oh, yeah, they've probably got one of these things. It doesn't matter, really. Honestly, it doesn't matter. How many knives can you accidentally buy someone?
The ideal number of knives. N
Exactly.
plus 1.
Exactly. We're talking about bushcraft knives, obviously.
Infinite knives.
It's infinite knives. So that's already one bit of stress off your shoulders. Okay, so shall we throw ourselves into it? Because I'm sure the listeners are eager to find out, and I'm eager to find out what you've got on your top 10s list. So we'll just start off from number 10. Who wants to go first?
Okay, I'm going to go first.
Okay.
A life straw.
Oh, you've put that down at number 10. Okay, that's
So
fine.
a life straw is basically a water filter, which means you can drink water from a river, a pond,
Anywhere.
anywhere,
I mean,
even a toilet.
okay, so
Wouldn't advise it.
but I think people have done that to demonstrate them.
Oh, fair enough.
But interesting thing about the life straw, now you can get all sorts of soya minis, all sorts of different filter systems out there, and they are very good. And going back to the last podcast about prepping, and we will go over this subject with you, Jack, you did bring up one of the big issues with your family, being a big family unit, was acquiring fresh water.
Yes.
And what was the estimate you had on how much water you
I
need?
think it was something like 1,000 litres for all of us for a month.
1,000 litres for a month. Right, so you mentioned life straw.
Yeah.
By all means, in case I've got the figures wrong, I'm sure I haven't, off the top of my head. And you do get, now life straw is a bit like saying doing hoovering. Okay, you might be using a Dyson, but I'm just doing the hoovering, darling. It's a word that, yes, there are life straws, but there are also similar ones by other companies. And they all have variations on their filtering.
Well, my thoughts behind it were the fact that water is one of the key things you need for survival. So I thought it's pretty cheap.
Okay, well,
You might need it.
that's right. So the life straws come in around about, depending on the make and brand, because I say there's different ones, I think they could range from about £10 to £25 for
Precisely,
a life straw.
it's an affordable thing.
And the reason I bring it up about the question about water, Jack, is because they usually range between 1,000 litres that the filter's good for and 4,000 litres, I think is the brand name life straw. The great thing with the life straws is, as well as what it's, that there's a clue in the name. You can literally stick it in your gob and suck through it out of a river, out of a puddle.
A muddy
whatever,
puddle, yeah.
muddy puddle. Or they have a thread on them, which is universal thread, which fits all fizzy drinks bottles. All fizzy drink. Yeah, have you ever
All right.
you ever lost a cap off a fizzy drink
Yep.
bottle and you've used a different lid?
Yep.
It fits because they're all a standard size. So you can literally get a 2-litre Coke bottle, fill that up with dirty water, screw the life straw on the top, squeeze it, and pour
Yum,
out fresh
yum.
water out the other end. But it'll give you that
Yeah.
1,000 litres off one life straw.
Yep.
I mean, to be honest, would it last longer? Possibly.
What?
Well, it's guaranteed for like that much water.
Yeah,
But
I mean, you have to backwash the filter and things, but that's why a lot of backpackers will use them if they're touring out in the Far East and things, because it's always dodgy drinking water from places. So take a life straw. But yeah, so that's your number 10. Over to Jack.
On my number 10, I put cooking pots.
Cooking pots. That's a good idea. So, have you any range you have in
well,
mind?
it was just not really. It was just I've seen them about and they are useful and they get damaged and.
Okay, so we're talking kind of your hanger pot over the fire type of cooking pots. Are we talking your collapsible?
I put most of my things down as a general thing. So if you know the person. You know what sort of things they like and styles and things. You'll probably be able to find something that fits their needs,
because you get variations. You can go from your kind of small little mini canteen kits that all go together and things.
No, it wasn't last year for Christmas I got you a cooking pot, funny enough.
You did, actually.
What was that?
It is a brand name that I can't think off the top of my head what it is. It's going to come to. It's got red label. Any bushcrafters out there will probably know what it is.
But that's kind of like a small to medium sized pot.
It was a medium sized one. That's got a folding handle, which means that you can improvise. If you haven't got a stand, obviously you can go and cut some hazelwood, whatever, make a hook, hang it over your fire.
So what was one of the reasons you wanted that?
Well, when I'm by myself out and about, I tend to like my Crusader kit, which is got a small little cooker stand. It's got one steel cup for cooking in, a plastic cup to go with it as well for hot beverages, and that does me as a single, keeping minimum kit down, just real minimum kit. But sometimes it's nice to have a bigger pot that you can make bannock in, or you can do a stew in, or something like that, but that is not oversized. And again, they come in at a good sort of budget price. So pots and pans, good idea.
Good choice.
Do you know what I've got on mine?
No, I don't know.
Okay, so come in. I've got a woolen blanket. See, a good old-fashioned...
That's a sensible choice.
A good old-fashioned woolen blanket.
Gonna need that this winter with the blackouts.
There you go. You can't go wrong with a woolen blanket.
Oh no, we're telling the future now on the Now We Know Show podcast.
And going back to what we said right at the beginning, you can't have enough woolen blankets.
That's true.
If you want to keep warm, layer up.
Exactly.
I go through my cupboard at home every now and then, the airing cupboard upstairs, and think, I must get rid of some stuff. And I look at it all and I get it all out and I go, I might need all this. And a lot of it's blankets. And I'm like, I've got 6 people in this house. If the power goes out or, it becomes a bitterly cold winter, we're going to need blankets.
Yep, you got it.
So on blanket number 10, live straw, pots and pans, blanket. We're already building up a nice little store here for anybody. I'm going to go to the list that I got off of social media, and what I've done is, as they came in, individuals gave me a suggestion. I just put that down one after another. Can't really break it up into a top 10, so I'll just keep reading one off every time. So the first one that came in on that was from Lee Kench from UK Preppers and Survivalists, and his suggestion was life straw.
Ha! Yes.
There you go.
Yes. Do we get like a snap point for that?
We're not giving out points. We're not giving out points. We're giving out good suggestions to the listeners.
Yes.
Okay. So we've got the live straw already came in there.
Yay.
Right, so we are going to move on to our number 9.
Number 9.
Are we going to stay on the same round?
Let's go the same way.
Okay,
Zak.
same way. Okay, it's small. A British Army penknife. Specifically for its tin opener.
Very nice. Have you ever had
No, not.
Right, well, I'm familiar because I've got several of them. It's kind of enough. No, the British Army penknife, very basic, simple penknife, all steel. It's not got a fancy handle or anything on it. It has got a marlin spike on it, which is, the spikes that people always say that are on penknives for getting stones out of horses' hooves, when in fact what they're there are for loosening knots. The whole idea of that spike, I mean, you can use it like a bradawl for making holes in things, but ideally what they're designed for is to get, if you get real tight, you've got cold fingers, you can't get a knot
Undoing your
apart.
shoelaces.
Undo your shoe. You get the spike in, and it just eases the knot apart. Oh, it's beautiful having one of those. But the other benefit, as you just said, with it, there's more than just one benefit. But the other benefit is it's got one of the best bottle openers going. Bottle openers, tin openers.
Yeah.
Probably open it. Well, you could open a bottle with it.
You can open anything with it. The blooming claw on it. It's huge.
It's one of those kind of hooked beaked tin openers.
Yeah, you usually find it on like a penknife.
Yeah,
of some kind.
lots of penknife. It's the standard kind of one you have on most penknives.
Like a Swiss Army knife.
But
or
if you
something.
get a Swiss Army knife, they tend to be very small,
Tiny little hook.
tiny ones. Whereas the British Army knife penknife is just
Means the business.
It means to be. You can open anything with that. You know, you got a Fray Bentos pie, you're going to get straight into that.
Cans,
it's also
tanks.
it's also got a little sort of like straight-ended screwdriver or pry on the end of it, which is handy for prying.
A marlin spike.
I need to see one of these.
The tin opener.
Awesome. I'll show you one after the show.
The little screw bit you just mentioned.
But also the blade.
Knife.
Now, this is the other big bonus that I like about it. It's not a lock knife, okay, and the blade is 3 inches long, which comes into a legal carry.
Is that not an inch too long? I thought the
No,
legal
3
carry was
inches.
2.
3 inches and non-lockable. And it's also got what's known as a sheep foot point on it, which means instead of having your standard kind of pointy end, it's cut off at quite a steep angle.
Okay.
So it would be pretty no good for stabbing somebody with.
Right.
You turn around and use the
Marlin
spike instead.
We're not advising
We're
that.
not advising
not
that.
advising that at all.
No. But as a pocket knife that is a legal carry, it's
a pretty good choice.
It's a good choice. So there you go. It's a very multi-purpose. Again, cheap to purchase because you can go to places,
Army surplus
stores, and pick them up second hand, which are in perfect condition.
Yeah.
So again,
and sometimes they even come in with little names scratched into them.
That's cool.
Whoever's owned it.
I think mine's from Dave.
Dave.
Cheers, Dave.
So Jack, your number 9.
Right, my number 9 was a cooking kit / spice kit, which just handy to have to make all your meals a bit more interesting. Not just spicy, but
No, that's
just
really
salt
good.
and pepper and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
you
that
can
is
buy
really good.
kits
Yeah.
of those.
You obviously can go out and get your standard. What's the company that make a lot of those Schwarzkopf, those kind of spices? But you can collect smaller containers from other things, can't you? And then transfer the spice over, so you can have a lot of different choice, but in a smaller
Is this
space.
the Samwise Gamgee seasoning?
Yeah, exactly. That's
exactly.
it. Yeah.
You need a nice little
Everything needs
little
seasoning,
wooden
man.
box that you can put your own seasoning in.
Go on, Mr. Frodo, catch it!
What a brilliant suggestion.
Yeah, I didn't think of that.
I
Selection
think
of
that was
spices.
from James Fake.
Right,
I think
right.
suggested that.
Thank you, James. You actually threw a memory into my mind then from years ago when Zak was just a wee lad. And you were in, I think, it would have been it was before you were in the... No, actually, I don't even know if you were in the Scouts by that time, or the Cub Scouts. You were very small, but myself and your mum, Tina, we used to help out Scout leaders. We went on one of these, I think it was a father and son weekend with the Scouts. When we were a place called Fazel's Wood near Watford. And I've forgotten all about this until you mentioned it. One of the fathers of, obviously one of the Cub Scouts, he was a chef, and he brought a little plastic toolbox with him. But in that toolbox, he had exactly what you said, a whole range of different spices and his knife kit. So when it came to doing breakfast, because they would do competitions over the weekend, the best breakfasts and the best thing, and all the kids and the fathers would cook for all the leaders.
Right.
And so whoever got that father as the person cooking the dinner with their son, they had tomatoes which were like made into swans and roses.
Oh, really? Pulling out all the stops.
He'd get all the vegetables out and cut them all into all these things. And all the other fathers are going,
Michelin star breakfast.
But that's all they were doing the entire weekend, right?
yeah, it was brilliant. But spot on. Yeah, that was a good weekend. But spices, why not? Which comes then to me. What's my number 9? Small stove.
Oh,
Just
cooking again.
Small stove. What I had in mind with that is you can get lovely little fireboxes which are just collapsible. You can either fold out. A lot of bushcrafters will know what I'm talking about. They fold out, or they are made in sections that slot together. And it's a little firebox that you do exactly that. You use wood, tinder, wood, and feed your wood in there. So it's a lovely little firebox. I use them myself. So you can have a real open fire, but it's contained and it's safe when you're out and about. Or the alternative, small gas cooker, if you just want to have the ease of having gas. But both items are budget price. They're not going to cost you an arm and leg. And again, I don't think it's something that anybody's going to turn around and say, oh, I've already got one of those.
Yeah. What if the first one breaks?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
what if you want to cook 2 things at once?
However, it does remind me of, again, something from last Preppers podcast.
Yep.
So if you haven't listened to it, listeners, go and listen to the previous podcast. It was mentioned the blackout box, and you said you had a solid fuel stove in it. We had a comment on that one mentioning that you shouldn't use those indoors. We obviously weren't inferring to use it indoors, but it was a good point.
Yep.
So I just wanted to bring that up. If you do have anything like I just mentioned, a folding firebox or solid fuel outside. Obviously, if you've got a little gas cooker, that's a lot safer, and you can probably use that.
If you have a little fireplace, could you use it in that?
If you had an open fireplace, obviously no problem at all, because you normally have an open fire.
You're probably not using the cooker.
Oh, there you go.
You're probably saying, why have I got this tiny little firebox?
Wait a second. Can I have saved myself some more money?
I could just literally have a fire. So brilliant. So, now it's over to the list that I had. So coming back down, so we've had the live straw. The next one was from Chris Waite, and he came at us with this suggestion from JJ Outdoors, and that's dry bags.
Yeah, they could be useful.
Yeah, they could be very useful. I mean, everybody needs dry bags.
When do we use dry bags?
Oh gosh, we use them all the time. If we're going out bushcrafting, always put stuff into dry bags, because you want to keep your wet clothes separate from your dry clothes. You want to keep your dry clothes dry, just in case you get any leakage in backpacks.
Well, thinking of specific situations we go canoeing, paddleboarding and stuff like that.
Exactly, canoeing, paddleboarding, and I use a dry bag which doubles up as a drag float. Yeah. When we go wild swimming. Do you know what I'm talking about there, Jack?
Yeah. Attached to your foot.
Yeah, it's attached around your waist. On your foot, it'd be a bit, you'd be worried about tangling up around your other ankle. But it's attached to your waist, drags behind you. It notifies other people that are using, say, boats or especially around the coast where they're using a lot of
jet skis.
Jet skis. That's it. They can see the orange things. But
better not drive over that.
Yeah. But our original drag floats were exactly that, just floats, and they're quite handy because we do when we get the chance coastal swimming, so we choose a spot on the coast to park up, and then we'll put our wetsuits on, because you need wetsuits to be in there all day, and we'll literally swim, say, 5 miles down the coast, exploring the caves, exploring the cliffs, hidden
places
beaches.
You can't normally get to.
Places you can't normally get to, and you need a wetsuit, and obviously we have the dry bags, the drag floats with us, and then hit the coastal path and walk back, because we have our dive boots on, so you can walk back along the coastal path to where you originally parked. It's a day out, great fun. But there was always the issue of you got your car keys,
phones,
all these things, and then
deal with that.
And then, hurrah! They started designing drag floats, which were actually also a dry bag. Yeah. So you could put all your stuff in the dry bag and then blow it up. Job done. So dry bag, drag float.
There you go.
There you go.
On to my number 8 now, I guess.
Number 8, yeah, go for it.
Okie dokie. My number 8, simple one, but effective. A torch.
Torch. Awesome.
I'd be very happy if someone bought me a torch for
Christmas. Again, an item you can't have too many of. Head torch is my favourite type of torch.
Especially when bat surveying.
Yeah, I mean, when we do bat surveys, and good point you bring that up, actually, because have you got a head torch, Jack?
I actually don't yet. I'm
okay, put
in
it on
the market for one.
Put it on Jack's Christmas list. So, a head torch. I think we briefly discussed it, because you can get head torches which are battery powered. Well, they're all battery powered, but head torches which you put batteries in, or head torches which are USB chargeable.
That was the problem I had when looking for one the other day. Was most of them are USB rechargeable.
See,
now.
That's the thing. I still. I mean, by all means, listeners, comment below about any you might recommend that are USB chargeable. But I find the fact is, if you're stuck and you kind of run out of any way of recharging it,
especially if it's like power sockets or anything.
Yeah, you have to be very forward thinking. I mean, even with
if you've got like a big battery somewhere that you can
battery
plug
bank.
in. Yeah.
Battery bank that you can recharge it off of, or if you've got your vehicle.
It's kind of adding extra links into that chain, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas if you've got a simple battery one and you've got some spare batteries, and you can pick batteries up most places.
Should be sorted for a couple of days.
Also, it takes you 2 seconds to change a battery rather than having to wait 4 hours to charge it up again.
That's a good comparison, actually. Yeah.
But there is another factor to them, and that is there are generally most of them are white light, red light, and red blinking light. I was actually asked why do they blink, and that is just an international emergency signal that it's red blink. So if you were
help, I'm on a mountain.
Yeah, I'm on a mountain. If you set it to red blinking, it's kind of an internationally recognised thing.
Warning, go away. Danger is here. No, come back.
Come back.
It was the other setting.
Yes, it's the other setting. However, because we do bat surveys, there are ones you can get now that have a green light. Okay. And I actually find the green light for when you've got things in front of you.
Yeah, like writing on a bit of paper.
The red light kind of up close and personal kind of does my eyes in a little bit.
Yeah.
Kind of hard focus. Green light.
Green one.
Beautiful.
Brilliant.
Really, I would highly recommend green light head torch.
The red light's not to affect night vision, isn't it? So you can turn it off and you can still see.
Mm-hmm.
So
the green works.
Does the green do the same?
Haven't had any issues with that because, as I say, when you're doing bat surveys, dawns and dusks, you're using your monitoring equipment anyway. You're using your visual, to see if you can see the bats when they're out and about, and then when it gets so dark that you're on that cusp, you can or can't see them, then you're focusing on the monitoring equipment that you're using to hear the bats, but you want to keep your lights off. But then when you pop the green one on to write, I don't find any sudden issues with once I've turned it off again that it's affected the vision.
I suppose if you're looking at the screens and things, then maybe it's that you've already.
Yeah, but anyway, green. Yeah. Try it as an option
cool.
if you haven't got one. Green. So
that was number 8 for me.
That was number 8 for you, right? So it's over to Jack then for his number 8.
So my number 8 was your last one, which was camping stoves.
Hey, that was yours.
Was it yours?
Yes, it's
which I also put. If you want to be a bit more extravagant, Kelly kettles. Quite pricey, but
well, I do have a Kelly kettle, and although I tend to use it just for boiling larger quantities of water, separate from my cooking for making our brew. A friend of ours, Sarah Downing, do you know Sarah? She uses the base. She's got an adapter for the base so you can take the actual top kettle off and use the base as just a cooker on its own.
Okay,
that's cool.
Yeah. So Kelly kettle.
There you go.
Yeah, would another one kind of be like a Trangia or something, a Trangia kit?
Yeah, Trangia kit, because we've got a couple of those knocking around. They're the ones that are like you've got a frying pan on the top. What is it? Two different size saucepans in there.
Yeah.
An outer one, which isn't a saucepan, that's kind of like you put your Trangia in it. It's a windshield.
Yeah.
There's usually a kind of a donut ring as well, which sits on top of it.
Tell you what, the most handy aspect
I know where he's going with
of the Trangia kit is the handle.
The handle. Have you ever seen a Trangia handle? It's kind of like a crocodile jaw.
Yeah, that when you hold it clamps
on.
on.
So the actual saucepans don't have handles.
Right.
They've got a little rolled edge on them, and this handle just goes over the top, and you pinch it like pliers, and you can transfer things around. But they're just great for picking up.
Get rid of the Trangia, just use the handle on literally anything. Tin of beans, over fire, done.
Tin of beans, anything. That's a really handy handle.
We recently just bought some of those handles because I didn't know.
I went in the Trangia and the handle disappeared.
And I didn't know that you could actually get them separately. So
there's a tip.
Extra recommendation there.
Yeah, if you just the handle.
Just the handle. Just the handle. Other stuff, that's luxury extra.
Luxury extra, yeah. So there you go. Then you get again back to the budget. Forget the rest of the Trangia, just get a handle. And of course, the other part of a Trangia is the actual Trangia cooker, which again you can buy separately, which are you can use methylated spirits or you can use the biofuels in them. And again, they're pretty handy. They actually fit in most of the Crusader, British Army Crusader cooking kits and things. A lot of this stuff is interchangeable. Going back to the folding firebox that I mentioned, again, if you don't want to have an open fire by using wood in them, you can put a little Trangia stove in them. Most of them will fit the Trangia stove all right, so you can cook over that. So a lot of this stuff is quite multi-purposed.
Good stuff.
Good suggestion, that one. My number 8 is supermarket vouchers.
Interesting. I'm
I have
interested.
received those as a present before. They were useful.
Well, I was thinking about this. A lot of people, a bit strapped for cash.
I'm
and
interested
things.
to see your justification for this.
Well, one of the things that a lot of people that prep do like to stock up on their food.
Mm-hmm.
They want to go and buy tins and buy this and buy that.
What you've done is buy them free food of
So
their
what you've
own
done,
choice.
you just say, okay, I might not know exactly what to get you.
So this would probably be in like reference to pre-apocalyptic situation.
Well,
It would help them to prep for an apocalyptic situation.
yeah.
Okay, I get that reason.
If you think that somebody, if you really got that kind
Because
of...
as soon as it gets to like apocalyptic situation, I don't think they're going to be accepting vouchers.
or
I think
gold.
most people are going to be screwed anyway because they won't be accepting cards. No one carries cash anymore.
Which actually does throw up a thing, because there was an article that came on, I think it was in Kent, that a prepper had his house raided. Or the chap,
I saw this.
yeah, he'd had his house
That was
raided.
today, wasn't it?
And the article wasn't huge, so it didn't really give you the details. But the police had raided this person's house, and he would have seemed to have been kind of, from reading the article, it seemed like he was maybe fortifying his house or doing something. But there was no actual reason given in the article, an exact reason of why his house had been raided by the police. But the police raided his house and found that he had an illegal, unlicensed sawn-off shotgun behind his fridge. But he also had something like, I think it was 6 or more legally owned guns in gun cabinets.
Yeah, didn't they say like crossbows and things?
Yeah. But he... And
I can see my crossbow from here.
The reason I mentioned you saying about the apocalypse is because the reporter who'd obviously written the article was very unfair on preppers.
Yeah.
Because
it was the wording, wasn't it?
It was the wording, because
great.
the chap in court was asked by the judge, "Are you a prepper?" As if that's some kind of weird thing. Are you a prepper?
Because it kind of suggested they were paranoid.
Paranoid, yeah. Well, he was given. He's meant to be going to another court hearing about the possession of the illegal firearms, but he's had all his other firearms given back to him because they're all legal, which seems to be weird. But he himself said that he's not out to hurt anybody or anything like that. But the article made out that he had a secret room and he had tins of food stored away. Yes,
Tins of food in a cupboard? Shock horror!
They weren't in the cupboard, they were under the floor.
No.
But ultimately, the reporter described it that he's a member of a small eccentric group of preppers who
live in fear
of societal breakdown,
societal collapse,
Yeah.
and natural disasters. And it's like, no, preppers. That's not prepping.
I said this to my wife Amy. I said, look at this, and she went, well, that's the opposite of what a prepper is. Exactly. If anything, they're not scared of it because they're prepared for it.
I know, and also so many. You've seen so many programs on the moment saying, make sure you're prepared for cold weather coming. Yeah. Make sure you get this. Make sure.
But they won't call them preppers.
They won't call them preppers, but they're advising everybody to be preppers.
Yeah. Let's resort to the old ways.
Yes. Don't get raided to find you've got food in your cupboard.
Yeah, exactly.
Stored tins. You're obviously one of those eccentric.
Like they're having programs, yeah.
It was the sawn-off shotgun, and he had the weaponized tins of food. That's what it was. This one is too far gone, and it's for the trebuchet.
There you go. That was a reference to the other episode.
Exactly.
Because they're having like TV programs and stuff.
Don't get me wrong. If he's done something illegal and he's being picked up by it, then that's the law and needs to be dealt with. But the whole inferring that anybody that is a prepper is some kind of weird eccentric that lives, as you said, Jack, in fear.
And then on the other side, they're having like TV programs where it's like, if you get cold, put on a blanket.
Put on a blanket. Buy some extra blankets.
As if
the blanket
somebody
you got as a gift
don't
from
know.
our top 10 list.
If they don't know how to keep warm, I'm like, come on.
So yeah, mine was supermarket things, because that way somebody, if they want to stock up their food stores, but you don't know exactly, they might have, say, a food that they don't like or they could be allergic to. So it gives them the opportunity to enjoy a shopping trip out and buy themselves some stuff for their food stores, or use those vouchers for something else. But I would really think if I got vouchers for a supermarket, that it's probably foodstuffs I'd be looking to buy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there you go. So now let's refer to the next one on the list from social media, which is from Jane Edwards, again off the UK Preppers and Survivalists Facebook page, and that's hot water bottle. Well, she actually put hot water bottle and blankets, but we'll go hot water bottle because I've already mentioned blankets.
Several times.
So, hot water bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with a hot water bottle.
Just a way of keeping warm.
Exactly. I think they could do a brew in it as well.
Yeah, as long as you've got a way of heating up the water.
Exactly.
You're good.
On one of the small stoves we've spoken about, using the water filter.
Using the transit.
The live straw, exactly.
Yeah, it's all fitting together.
Yeah, so thank you for that one.
It's almost like we know what we're talking about.
Thank you, Jane Edwards, for that suggestion. Right, which brings us to, we're getting down our Christmas list now.
Yeah, my number 7.
Your number 7.
Okay, it's a bit big one.
Oh.
Army surplus backpack.
Yeah, a lot of people do ask the questions.
Yeah,
about
you got to have somewhere to store all your stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
especially if you're out and about.
Yeah, if you're doing wild camping,
Mm-hmm.
you're doing bushcraft, you want to go out, it doesn't have to be on a regular basis, but you still need to carry your gear, then you're going to need a backpack of some sort. Some of them can be exceedingly expensive.
I have noticed.
Yeah, but if you want something that is, because I've got British Army.
It's got to be versatile and durable.
Exactly. So I've got ex-Army.
I think
packs.
ex-Army is basically the way to go, because as soon as you go into something like go outdoors or something,
most of those.
I've tried like a Van Gogh hiking backpack several times. They've always broken.
Because the plastic clips.
But it's supposed to be the
durable.
highest of qualities, and it breaks them the first time you go hiking. It's like, what? That's ridiculous.
Whereas my old Army one is just like.
I think
I've got a 30-year-old Army one.
Isn't mine like a however many litre?
Yeah, yours is the
engineer one.
Yours is the turtle. The turtle
you got
backpack.
the square one.
Yeah.
It fits a big square a toolbox. For carrying those, is that one?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and whereas I've got the standard.
Yeah.
Backpack, and with and of course you get the
external pouches.
You get the external zip-on and off pouches, which you also can get the separate yoke.
Yeah.
You can put those pouches on.
That is one of my extras on the list. I've put pouches.
Makes it look like a jetpack.
Okay. Yeah. So you get jetpack. In fact, the last time I used that is when we went to go caving in Wales. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
And then we went on a real big cave system down there where
spent an entire day underground.
I needed because we were underground all day. Needed to take a pack lunch. Didn't want to take a big backpack, so I just popped the side pockets off the pouches off the
few
side.
clips.
That's it.
Are these caves you can stand up in, or are these the fear-inducing caves that I've seen online where people are squeezing through them? I'm like, there's no way I'd get back through that if I went through that way.
It varied sometimes.
I can't remember the name.
Just watching.
Can't remember the name of it.
It was in Wales.
Yeah, some of it was natural cave system, but the majority of it was a slate mine.
Yeah.
But it was an old slate mine that is. I think it takes you down to the deepest place you can get to.
I'd love to go down there, but I think I would freak out.
But it was well done because
it was the great bit.
A lot of it was
where
a
you're
combination
like
of scrambling,
stepping through the water, balancing on that kind of balance beam.
Yeah, we got right down to the lowest part. We couldn't go any lower. And I said we were in there for 7 hours.
Don't step down there. There's a big hole.
Yeah, but
you'll get swept under.
Yeah, because
okay, I guess I won't do that.
Back in the day, they had pumps that kept the water getting pumped out, but obviously it's abandoned as a mine.
You just got
now.
a big abyss in front of you, and you're just like,
okay,
that goes down a bit.
Looking at it, but the videos give me claustrophobia when I'm watching.
Yeah, but they'd actually put some scaffold poles that you could step on the scaffold poles, which are about an inch or two under the water.
Yeah,
that you could balance your way across.
Yeah, you're gonna have to hold onto this chain and kind of just make your way.
Shimmy your way.
You have to duck a bit here and kind of.
And then every so often we get to a chasm which they'd already put a zip line across, and then you'd hook yourself on the zip line and literally disappear off into the dark.
Into the nothing.
Incredible.
And we were down there 7 hours.
Isn't it like the longest zip wire underground? I think.
I couldn't tell you on that. But we had that jump at the end.
Yeah. Oh, so that was the extreme part.
It finished off at the end. Now I climb. Zak climbs, and it's kind of, I'm not scared of heights when I know I'm secure. If you take me to the edge of a building or the edge of a cliff and I've got I'm not secure, then I get that. Get the collie wobbles.
Yep, I love climbing,
but if I know my anchor points are true, I'm hooked on.
All good.
I'm happy to abseil off of anything.
Yeah. I'll lean off this.
Yeah, I'll lean off it. I'll abseil, go forwards, abseiling, whatever, not a problem. But if I'm not connected to anything, you know,
Well,
I don't like that.
I've climbed things not connected to things, and I'd rather climb something where I know I'm holding onto something solid. I've got big racks at work, and rather than go and get the ladder, I'll just climb them, and you're good 18 feet up in the air or whatever. And I would rather climb up the rack knowing I'm holding onto a solid rack that I built rather than use the ladder that I know could fall over.
But wasn't it? It was a leap of
we
faith.
knew at the end of the day we were going to get to this place called the Leap of Faith. And it was a little plank that was into this abyss, and it's pitch black.
You can't see the bottom.
And I think it was
thinking about
I think it was about 100-foot drop
Yeah.
into this place. And they'd got one of those self-breaking cables.
An auto
I hate
belay.
those.
An auto beater, yeah, I don't like.
They're a bit dodgy.
But you see, in my mind, I'd got in my mind that I would hook my climbing gear up to this belay and give the little belay a little pull. Yeah, okay,
Yeah, okay.
I'm happy with
I'm
that.
happy with
Happy with that. And then you literally just stepped off into the abyss until it kicked in and slowed you down, and then
Do not trust.
when you got
Do
right
not trust.
when you got right down the bottom, they had some mats at the bottom, but you couldn't see anything, you know, from the top.
But what was the thing about it?
Oh man! So I went straight away. I went, "Who's going first?" I went, "I'll go first. No problem. I'll go first. Get it over done with, sorted." Standing on this plank, hooked up, but they got the belay. It was just dropping down into the.
Well, it was attached to like a bungee cord.
It was, and it's like, okay, now I feel really like I'm
'Cause
not
it was
attached to anything.
drooping
You
off the edge. It
You
was
just had to
loose.
hold the cable up next to your shoulder so you didn't get whipped in the face, and then it just dropped down into the darkness and came back up to the belay above you, and it's like.
It wasn't tight at all. It was like
And I'm thinking, I really don't, why did I say I'll go first?
something in the subconscious saying, "Don't do this.
Yeah.
Don't do this. Don't do
It
this.
was
Why
a-
are you doing this?
It was
Stop."
it was a real battle, you know, because I'm telling myself they're not going to throw me off
it
here.
must
and
be safe.
It,
It
must
must
be
be
safe.
safe.
It
It
must
just
be
it just didn't.
But what if it's not?
It just didn't feel safe. But eventually, yeah, put off.
And that was good when Tina had to go on
bungee
it.
Oh,
jumping
yeah.
to my children this morning, and
What?
they looked at me the same way I'm looking at you now. Like, why would you do that?
Well, when we got down the bottom, actually, then you could see the opening at the top,
Yeah.
100 feet up above us.
You're all right. It's fine. I
It's fine,
survived.
we survived. And then Tina
Did you
came
not
off. We
just
got,
scream when you got to the bottom like you
no,
did
no,
before?
Tina did that.
Tina screamed twice.
She screamed as she left the top, and then screamed as she came down.
It was quite dramatic.
It was fun. But
It was-
she
it
enjoyed
made the trip.
It made the trip. She enjoyed it. But we've got completely off track. But the point was, is I used the yoke system
Yes.
with the pouches as my backpack because it was a real neat little system and small enough to go down the
Very
caves
much
without
so.
any
Very
issue.
much
So
so.
yeah,
Sound suggestion.
no, it's your suggestion, isn't
Yeah, it
it?
was mine.
It's your suggestion. So you don't have to go for an expensive backpack because you can pick up a cheap
Army surplus.
Army surplus one. Doesn't have to be British Army surplus. It could be anything, you know. But there you go. So the backpack.
Right, so my number 7 then, is it?
Mm-hmm.
My number 7. I have got a set of cookses or camping cups.
Cooksers.
Cookses.
Good old
Who's
cooksers.
aware of
You
what
can't be a
cookses are?
bushcrafter without a cookser.
I know, I want some. Oh, I really want some. And
Although I take issue with this.
I really like them. They're not
say
at all, you know, I don't think they're very practical. You can't
No,
put them over a fire or anything. They're just beautiful things
No,
to have.
they-
And I would love some.
They are beautiful, and I haven't carved. I've got spoon knives and things for carving, and I've made lots of spoons and bits and pieces, but I've not done a cookser yet.
Tip. Always be careful with spoon knives.
Yes, says the person.
I have the scars to prove it.
He's got a big scar on his wrist.
Yeah.
They're very sharp.
I couldn't tell you what all the
It was
scars
actually a
are from my
Yeti.
hands.
Just emphasising that now. It was actually a Yeti,
Ah,
not a
yes.
spoon.
It's a
knife.
Yeti bite. That's what it was.
It wasn't Cocaine Bear.
I think,
Yeah, that trailer.
I say, joking when I say I've got an issue with cookers. The fact is they become so iconic as every bushcrafter has to have one hanging off their
Yeah.
backpack. But because they are very much associated with Scandinavia, with
Yeah.
Finland and places like that, but we have our own. An old Anglo-Saxon word "boon" was
Oh, okay.
was a cup or a vessel, and we have our own
Okay.
wooden
Oh,
cups.
I want
I
a
just-
boon.
I-
Yeah, the Vikings had wooden cups.
I know they're not practical, but I just find them so beautiful. I would
they're
love
fine.
those.
But you,
And, yeah,
if you want to be a bushcrafter, Jack, you've got to have one.
I like the word boon.
Boon, yeah, the boon is an old Anglo-Saxon word for a drinking vessel,
And that's
And I
not the word of the week.
and I think a very
which was crepuscular.
Crepuscular.
Yeah,
and
I remembered it. Still don't
a
know
lot
what
of
it means.
a lot of wassailing. So if you've heard of wassail or wassailing, that's an Anglo-Saxon word for basically good health, and they have wassailing ceremonies and things. And a wassailing cup was a circular cup that was generally, it could be metal, pewter or whatever, but again wooden. But it had a double, like a cookser has one wooden handle, it has two, and you'd basically pass it around everybody and give everybody, wish them wassail, good health. So yeah, every culture has its own cups.
Very cool.
So you don't have to have a cookser. You can have a boon instead.
Well, so I included in that / camping cups, and that would be things like the Crusader cup.
Yes,
I've got one of those. It's very useful.
Yeah, it's the metal Crusader cup.
Definitely.
Yeah, but I mean, if you want a nice little thing, again, nobody's going to turn down not having a nicely carved.
Exactly.
And I think they're a reasonable price. You can get those at.
I'm not sure. I just know I want some.
Look on Wish. Look on Wish. I don't know what might turn up.
They'll be made of polystyrene.
I don't know what might turn up. But I know you can get them on Wish. Right, so we're on number 7, aren't we?
Yes.
Okay, and my one is a small first aid kit.
Yes.
Useful.
Yeah, a good. I would expand talking about first aid later on, but a small first aid kit, because again, you don't want to be out. You've got your backpack, you've got your woolen blanket, you've got your cooking gear and your spices and everything else, and you're making yourself up a meal. Damn, I've cut myself, and I'm not sure.
Spoon knife.
not sure which bracket fungus I need to peel to use as a plaster. I know. I've got a little first aid kit that was given to me for Christmas. It's got plasters in it. It's got a bit of gauze. There you go. So a small first aid kit. Because again, you might say, oh, well, okay, somebody might have first aid kits. Fine, but you can chuck a first aid kit in the car. You can chuck a first aid kit in your backpack.
A car one and a house one and a work one.
Plus, everybody in your household can have a first aid kit.
What would the small first aid kit include?
Oh, it's usually plasters, gauze, antiseptic wipes, safety pins, bits and pieces. You can even add to it if you want to put some.
A couple of headache tablets or something.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a good point. So you can go out and you can get, again, for your preppers, they want a store of painkillers. So you get ibuprofen and paracetamol. They're all dirt cheap. You can get creams like Savlon, Germaline, things like that. You can add to your kit as well.
Have a base one and then just kind of build it up.
Burn gel is a good one.
Yes.
It's sort of like a full skin gel.
Could have done with some of that today, and my first aid kit didn't actually have any in.
All right, put it on the put it on the Christmas list.
I think I've run out. Burn myself fairly regularly on exhaust.
Stick it in the bag. Stick it in the bag. Right, so
my Amazon wish list is getting larger as we speak.
You've got it open right now.
That's the whole point of this podcast. Hopefully, we're giving other people ideas. So I'm going to go back to my social media list. So what have we got? After the last one was hot water bottles. So we have somebody. It must be their kind of made up name, but it's called Oat Cake. So whoever Oat Cake is from UK Preppers and Survivalists, and they said a single burner stove. So we've already had the stove, so another good suggestion.
So what was that?
Single burner stove. So the stove has come up again.
My number 6, a single burner stove.
Oh, great. So we don't need to discuss that too much because we've already gone
through so many different burners and bits and pieces.
And bobs. Briefly, I like gas. You can get gas one, small gas cylinder, but if you run out of gas, and that's all it can do. You can do nothing else with it. So,
Happily have more than one.
Yeah. Okay, so that's
my number 6.
Number 6. So.
My number 6 also doesn't need discussing. We've already discussed it. Head torch.
Hey! Head torch. Well, that's going to chuck me straight onto my number 6. Thankfully, guys, I've got something different now.
Oh, yeah?
I have an axe puck sharpening stone.
Axe puck?
Yeah. Have you know what an axe puck?
Oh, I think I've seen them.
An axe puck.
Yeah, right. An axe puck sharpening stone. It doesn't have to be necessary for an axe, but people listening may well understand what I mean. Or you can do a Google search for an axe puck or just a puck sharpening stone. It's just looks like what it sounds like. It's a circular disc, like a hockey puck.
Okay.
Some of them have little shaped edges on them to put your fingers in and things. One side a finer grit, one side a coarse grit. Use it for sharpening your axe, hatchet, knives.
I'm going to add one of these to my
list.
And
you can buy them by themselves. A lot of them come with a little leather pouch or a little camo pouch, blah, blah, blah. But, everybody's going to have some kind of sharpening system generally. I don't, people will go out and buy those kind of sharpening tools you can buy, where you run the knife blade through like two metal jaws, but they kind of peel the steel off your blade.
Mine isn't recommended because if you have any burrs on your knife, you will shatter your window. But the top of your car window works extremely well for sharpening knives, and the bottom of a ceramic mug.
There you go.
Wasn't that a thing with knife sharpening? Is like sometimes when they're actually making the knives nowadays, it kind of has like a double bevel to make it really difficult to actually sharpen stuff.
So it's, they have like a bevel they cut into the blade, so it's a bevel edge, and then they put the edge on the bevel, so you've got a very small edge on the bottom of the bevel. And some people go to the extremes of grinding out the bevel. A lot of people like you. No, sorry.
Why would they do that?
It's machine made.
Easier to make.
You've got the
it makes you buy more knives.
You've got the thickness of the.
As soon as this guy, repeat custom. That's what it is.
So you got the thickness of the steel, and they literally just grind it out with like circular bevel on each side, and then literally just put an edge on that. Which I'm not against, because I've got some bevel edged knives and I can sharpen them fine, but
comes with practice.
Most people, again, bushcrafters, will use the term Scandi grind. A Scandi grind is a bit similar to what's known. You can punch this up, listeners. If you look at different grinds for putting on a knife edge, you can Google that, and you'll probably find a little picture which is a good description. Look at the picture, and it will show you the different shapes of them down. So a Scandi grind is literally just a V shape. A saber grind is, I think, a little bit more thinner on that side to a Scandi grind, and they are the preferred edges. You don't have to mess about with that. I do an Anglo grind because, funny enough, Anglo-Saxons also used to grind their knives and swords and instruments in the same way as the Scandinavians, but I use an Anglo grind.
There you go.
Just to be different. So. You could call it a Scandi grind, but I'll call it an Anglo grind.
Anglo grind and your boon sorted.
I've got my Anglo-Saxon cup. I've got my Anglo-Saxon knife edge.
There you go.
There you go. But yeah, so everybody has a sharpening system. Some people go for the ones where they're very complex, if you like, even to the point of where you would put marker pen.
Yeah, I've seen entire desk setups.
That's an engineering thing. It's called engineering blue, and you put it on things when you grind it.
And then you grind it off until it's gone. Like that. Whereas being a good old-fashioned carpenter myself and cabinet maker, that I've sharpened knives and chisels and tools and plane blades and things up for years. And I just do it naturally. I don't really think about it. You can get things that you can say attach to chisels to keep the angle right, and then you can run it down the sharpening stone. But again, I just kind of do it naturally.
I just do it with an angle grinder.
At the end of the day,
it's not great, but it works.
At the end of the day,
not good if you haven't got power.
No. At the end of the day, if you were out in the wilds, you've been in a plane crash and you've got to survive, and you've got I found a
surviving against timber wolves.
Yeah, and I found something that I can use as a knife.
I've seen that.
The grey with Liam Neeson.
Grey. That's it. As long as you haven't fallen into the grizzly maze, you're all right. Or grizzly.
Get those small tequila bottles, smash them on a rock, duct tape into your hand, boom, done.
This has gone very off.
That's from the Grey, okay? It's the end scene.
I don't remember that bit.
Anyway, but so
might be a whiskey.
You can put an edge on most things, or even if you need to, you just get a flint and do a bit of flint napping, get an edge on it. Or use a piece of glass, as you mentioned, a broken bottle. Knives. A lot of people get scared about sharpening things. How do I sharpen it? But, you just practice and you can get an edge on most things, and as long as it'll cut and do what you needed to do, job done. Anyway, so that was your number
6.
Number six. So. And my number. No, that was my number 6.
That was your number 6.
That was my number 6.
I'm just saying it was number 6. Right. We've all done number 6.
We've all done number 6. So we're on to our list of the social media list, which comes to Karina Anderson. And I believe that was from the UK Preppers and Survivalists. And it's a pocket SAS survival guide. So I would put that down as knowledge. Yeah, you've mentioned that before. A great gift. And again, it can be, there's so many different books. come back to this in a bit, but yeah, Pocket Survival Guide. I don't think that, again, it's something that you can double up on. It doesn't matter.
Because you're going to get the 2017 edition compared to the 1989 edition.
I think I've got the original SAS Survival Guide, which is quite a big, hefty book.
Isn't that big square one?
Yeah, it's the big square one.
And then later on, we've got that kind of extreme survival book that you got me.
Yeah. Because they all have tips in. It's like most books. When you're doing any subject, you'll have books and you go, I've seen this tip 10 times. And then
that makes it a good tip.
And then sometimes you'll come across an obscure tip that you have not seen in any other books.
It's an interesting comparison, isn't it?
Tip.
Interesting comparison.
So it's kind of like, he or she has got so many books. Getting another book, they're not going to find that a worthy gift. Well, that's wrong, because there's always something there. And even if you have two of the same book, sometimes you'll have.
You can use it as lighting a fire.
That's not what I was going to say. I was going to say, if you've got a small little book, you can have one at the side of the bed that you can use for just some light reading, one in the bog, one in the car, one in the backpack,
And you're sorted any time.
Exactly. And if you've watched John Wick, you can use it as
a weapon.
As a weapon.
The new one comes out.
That's why you get odd looks in the library.
Yeah, it's like, I'm picking the book up, going, okay, wait, yeah, okay, yeah, you can hold this nicely. Not too many pages. Good hardback.
When that 7.5-foot giant walks around the corner and will assassinate you.
Exactly. Don't underplay it. There's nothing worse than a paper cut.
Okay, on to my number 5.
Ooh, number 5.
A British Army Crusader kit. I think we've already kind of covered that.
Crusader kits under the cooking.
So my one was a foraging guide book.
Foraging guide,
More
excellent.
knowledge and
More
things.
knowledge.
I have one. I got it a couple of months back. I've yet to actually go foraging, but we found a very rare mushroom in Flitwick Woods, and I went straight home and I looked in my book and I was like, sure
my
it's in
mushroom.
here. And I looked in it and I went, do not eat.
Damn.
Good, because it looked not very nice.
I think as Terry Pratchett said, all fungi are edible.
Yes, some are
only
edible once.
Only once. Exactly. But that's one area where I can identify. Over the years, I've been doing bushcraft for many, many years, but I've always been interested in fungi, but I've also been incredibly wary of fungi. So unless it's something that is really obvious,
so.
I just I'd rather look at them for their beauty.
Yes, same.
Rather
than potentially have the worst day of your life.
Because I'm not having to survive. I'm not having to survive, so I'm not going to say, I'm going to pick that chicken in the woods and eat it. I don't need to.
Well, I tell you one thing. I've always wanted to try one of those puffballs.
The puffballs, yeah.
Do you remember the puffballs?
Yeah, well, I remember when we took Chaz out, a friend of ours, out on a survival course.
Survival weekend,
and they had some real big puffballs there.
Yeah. I thought they were going to feed it to us, but they never did.
Yeah,
are they always big or are they small?
No, you can get very small ones.
I think up at Ampthill Park there was loads and loads of them, and we looked that up in the book again, I think, and it was like you can eat them. I think you have to cook them first, I think. But if after a certain point they become very powdery, which is how they were, and they are no good, then
no, when they're sporing. No, when you got the spores coming out. No. I remember. Do you know Malden Woods at all? It's on the south side of Bedford. I was up there a few years back actually, and there was a fallen oak, and the oak itself was sort of hollowed out a little bit from where it had been rotting, and there was a huge beefsteak fungus. It was the first. I've always been looking out for a beefsteak fungus. You literally cut them, and it looks like bleeding flesh.
Wow.
But even then, I hesitate. I said, I'm not going to take that because I want to do what you did.
Yep. Check.
Go back, double check.
Always check.
And I thought, right. I think a couple of days later, I'll go back. And by that time, somebody had taken a stick to it and just smashed it to pieces. But on the subject of fungi and identifying them using books, I would highly recommend go on a course.
Yes,
if you get the opportunity to.
The one we saw, the rare one we saw, I can't remember what it was. It was black and white, but it was the way it was layered. I think it was white over black, and that was. Oh, it might have been the other way around. It might have been black over white. But anyway, there's two, and they look very similar. One's black over white, one's white over black, and one is edible and one is not.
That's why I say.
Always check.
That's why you want to go on one of these courses, so the person who's running the course can point at it and say, yes, you can eat that one. No, you can't eat that one. You're going to die.
Yeah, I would say, if you can do that, if you're 100% happy and you're 100% sure of what you're eating, fine. But if in doubt, don't.
When it comes to fungus.
When it comes to well, most things that you might... there are certain things you can do.
It's just good general advice in life, to be honest. If you're unsure about eating it, probably don't.
But again, in our holy trinity, one of those is survivalists. And if you were in a survival situation, then you might need to try something to see if it is. And then usually it's pop it in your mouth, keep it in the side of your mouth, see if there's a reaction. Don't eat, goes chomping into it. Do all the little tests.
How many different Bear Grylls programs could we reference right now?
Eat a little bit, if you've got no mouth reaction and things.
Bear Grylls always says.
I need to squeeze the moisture out of this elephant dung.
As Bear Grylls always says,
Use
5-star hotel or I'm not doing it.
Yes.
I always feel sorry for the cameraman who's following him down the cliff.
Yeah, it's always poor old Bear Grylls is jumping off the cliffs all enthusiastically, followed by cameraman who nobody ever mentions. He's like, oh no!
Yeah, it's all right for you. You can use your hands.
Yeah, okay, you've used the dead sheep that you just pulled out of the bog and use it as a sleeping bag. What the hell am I meant to use?
Thanks.
Thanks for that.
It's all right if you inflate it and blooming traverse across a pond. That's fine.
Exactly. A bear used to be your chief scout as well.
Yeah, true.
He still is, as far as I know.
Yeah.
But that's what they say about Bear Grylls and Ray Mears, you see.
Yeah. Always trust the fat survivalist.
Well, for those people listening that might not know, that's the difference between survivalist and bushcraft. Because surviving is all about doing exactly that. You're put into a situation where you are literally having to use skills to survive until you can find a way out or somebody rescues you. Whereas bushcraft is just simply about living out in the wild.
I'm going to put myself in this situation.
Baking bread in the woods.
and living comfortably.
Just smoke some salmon over
That's
this
it.
open fire.
Making a sweat lodge while you've got a really nice bed that you've made out of twigs, and it's all you're making a bannock, and it's all lovely. That's bushcraft. That's the Ray Mears comfortable lifestyle.
Anyway,
don't
where were we?
Don't squeeze the dung. That's what we do.
Good saying, I guess.
What we were on? Oh yes, we were on number 5. So it's my number 5 now, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay, my number 5 is British Army penknife.
Oh, there we go.
Stroke multi-tool.
Okay.
Because if you can't get hold of a British Army penknife, there are plenty of multi-tools that you can pick up as well. And in fact, somebody did. I'm going to go straight. I'm going to jump the list now, but I'm going to go straight to the multimedia list, where I had a chap called Peter Johnson from JJ Outdoors, and he did say that there's a multi-tool secateurs set at Waitrose that's around £7 at the moment.
Oh.
And he said he's got one and it's pretty good.
It's probably the cheapest thing in Waitrose.
So there you go, a multi-tool.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so
We're getting down the list now.
on to number 4. An army surplus sleeping bag.
Yep, okay.
Always good.
The lovely term that they use in bushcraft is, what sleep system do you use?
Oh, yes.
So, what sleep system
You've got to
do you
use one of the...
You've got to have a sleep
The good
system,
one,
and
the
then
good
you've got to
one.
do a video about your sleep system.
I do like this sleeping
Yes,
bag.
this sleeping bag, bivvy bags, tents, what's it called? Oh, tarps, being under your tarp,
Hammocks.
being on your hammock. What is your sleep system?
Well, the thing is I like about the army surplus ones is the fact that they actually keep you warm.
They do, yeah.
Where if you go outdoors or something and they just
I have one from Guy
keeps you
It's a bit
cold.
of a fancy one. I didn't want one of these mummy-shaped ones. I wanted a nice one because for once space wasn't a problem. Because I was like, well, if I'm going camping now, I'm trying to build my truck into an overlander. Space isn't much of a problem. So I bought a really nice one. It is very warm.
Yeah.
It was quite expensive. Probably more expensive than a British Army surplus one.
Yeah, I just found it in a shop.
But it was very good.
Bargain bucket. So.
Yeah. Well,
Treated
our
myself.
local army surplus, great place called the Green Barn over near Cambridge.
I keep meaning
So if
to go there.
anybody listening from the Green Barn, awesome place to go. I know there's other places out there, but we're close in Bedfordshire. We're close to the Green Barn. So
Definitely
if you need to
recommended.
go and find that British Army sleeping bag or backpack,
Or literally most of the things on this
Most of the
list.
things on your list, yeah.
but then you can order them offline as well. So there you go. But they've never let us down at the Green Barn.
Never.
We're not sponsored by the Green Barn, by the way.
Yet.
But if you want to sponsor us. Okay, so a sleeping bag. But I agree. I have problems with sleeping bag. I'm looking at you, Jack,
Yes,
and making
that's why I don't have a mummy one.
it's
I'm
the
very
shoulder
wide.
width.
Yes.
Because I have an issue trying to get the zip done up.
It's fantastic up to about here.
Up to your waist. After
And then
that,
you're like,
it's just absolute
Yep,
nightmare.
no, that's why I bought
I
the
actually
spider one.
I can zip myself into my British Army one fine. And then in the middle of the night, this is a bit of advice, don't drink probably an hour before you go to bed, which everybody drinks right up to the point of going to bed. And then you go, I need to go to the toilet in the middle of the night. And once I'm out of that sleeping bag, I ain't getting back in. I can never get that zip done.
I'm gonna hold it until morning.
The width thing on sleeping bags is a bit of an issue. I'm tempted to gift my one that I have just bought to one of my children because I may go for a double one.
But if we're talking about a bargain, sleeping bag's going to be incredibly expensive.
Yes.
But if we're talking about bargain, budget, then ex-army ones, they're always still in really good condition.
Definitely.
They are very warm.
Always check it out first. Make sure you fit.
Yeah, I just lay it on the floor, get in it, and see if it fits. And there are other different sleep systems, of course. I like the Dutch Army poncho, which is a poncho, but it also doubles up as a tarp, and it also clips together, and you can get a liner for it, which is a thermal liner, so it actually also turns into kind of a sleeping bag come bivvy bag. And I like to have my sleep system. I like to have. I like bivvy bags as well. Of course, it depends on the time of the year, because you're not always going to use a sleeping bag. I mean, me and Zak, we've been out there and we've gone back just to the traditional wool blanket, literally on the floor, wool blanket. Job done. That's all you need, because the nights are so warm.
At least you know you're going to fit under a wool blanket.
Thank goodness it didn't rain.
Yeah, well, we did have tarps on that one, didn't we?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so yours was the sleeping bag.
Yep.
Go for an ex-army one. Can't go wrong, really.
So what number are we on now?
4.
4. So I've got, I wrote flint and steel,
Ah.
but I was then corrected by my friends when I was chatting to them, and they said, call it a ferro rod.
Oh, okay.
There was other terms that they had, and I was like, they are cool things, they're useful,
Ferro rod, different from a flint and steel.
Yes, that was what they said. So it was just means of lighting a fire without matches or lighter, basically.
So flint and steel, if you've got a high carbon steel, then that's when you're going to get a spark off of your flint. Or if you use a ferro rod and use the back of your knife, or a lot of the ferro rods you can just buy a ferro rod by itself and you stick a handle on it. That's why I like a big chunky ferro rod. Stick a wooden handle on the end of it. Use the back of your knife, or some of these smaller ones, they come with a little
I should be looking for a new one. I bought a cheap one from Go Outdoors and it fell apart immediately.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just fall out the handle.
Yes, it's very annoying.
Yeah.
I thought that looks cool and useful and nice and small and compact.
Find yourself a nice big chunky rod. And get a big chunky rod. What do you guys laugh at?
Nothing.
You want a bit of girth on it, so it's going to last you. And make a handle for it. Stick a leather thong.
Stick a handle on your rod.
Yeah, stick a handle on your rod. Stick a leather thong through the
Sorry?
end. Give it a Prince Albert through the end of the handle.
Anyway.
I knew what direction this conversation was going, and you can't go wrong with that. And as I say, if you use the back of your knife, not all knives. So if you've got your little camp knife around the camp that you do you use as your sort of utility knife. Yeah, because again, a lot of people have different knives when they're doing bushcraft, where they will use one knife specifically for finer work, feathering sticks or cooking or whatever they're doing. But everybody has kind of their go-to knife. But not all knives have an edge on the back of them. Some of them are kind of smooth or rounded off. It's always good if you've got one of those knives and you don't mind doing this, file the back so it's got a nice square top on it near to the handle, because then you can get your ferro rod right in that nick and strike down. You'll get this beautiful spark off it.
In the process of making a knife out of one of the biggest files I've ever found in my life. It's almost like an Arnold Schwarzenegger Predator size.
I've got one of those upstairs.
Yeah, show it to you later.
One thing about that is if you're doing that, make sure it's either a lock knife or a fixed blade knife.
Yeah.
Not
You don't want to be doing
just a
that
folding
back of your
knife.
knife on a folding knife.
My thumb!
Yep, that's
Yeah.
gone.
And that's a tip on the Opinel knives. I don't know if you're familiar with Opinel.
Yes.
They tend to have the wooden handles on them, and they have a little swiveling
Yes.
ferrule that
Yes.
locks the blade.
I
So
find they're just over fancy.
it can be they're really sharp.
Yeah, they're sharp.
They are a really sharp knife. Okay, I can't fault them for that. The blades are really sharp, and they keep a great edge on them. It's nice having the wooden handle as well, but it's got this little ferrule ring that you turn, and so you can actually lock it shut, so it doesn't open, and you can then when it's open you can lock it. But I've actually found, and I'm really careful with my knives, but I've found that ferrule, if you're not careful, it can actually just work itself and it'll fold on you when you
Yeah.
don't expect it to, because you kind
Well,
of
heat and moisture and stuff on the
Like,
wood
you
can change the size.
I don't know
of
if
the
it's
wood, and
happened to
I've
any of
seen-
our listeners out there, but I've twice, when I've kind of in my mind, you're thinking, right, I've turned the ferrule, it's locked, everything's fine, and then it's gone and folded on my finger and cut my finger,
Yeah.
and it's like the ferrule slipped on it, and it's like, right, I don't trust it now. 'Cause
Only light cutting duties.
yeah, like cutting duties. I had it the weekend actually. We went out, and I had that. It was again, they're not technically legal, I don't suppose, but it was only a small little Opinel. But
I've got a tiny one that is.
yeah, if you're on private land, it doesn't matter. So we have a permission where we are, and it's all private, so I can carry what I like really on private land. But yeah, so a knife like that, if you're going to use it for striking, as you say, be careful because you're turning it round, and if it doesn't lock,
Oh dear.
oh dear, or if you think it's locked and it's decided to slip, boom, it's going to fold. So nice, sturdy, fixed blade knife is good for that, and a good ferro rod. Job done. And you can do other things as well. You can strike the knife away from you, or keep the knife static and pull the ferro rod towards you across the back. Because I see a lot of people sometimes when they're doing the most simplest task of maybe starting a fire and they've spent ages scraping some silver birch bark and getting the nice little pile of dust.
Yeah, I know what you
And
mean.
then they get their ferro rod there and go strike away from them towards
Yep.
that, and then knock it absolutely everywhere. whereas, whereas if you just put the knife and drag the ferro rod towards you, you get the same spark, and you haven't thrown your
Hard work
tinder,
on them before.
hard work and tinder everywhere. So that's all learn stuff. Right. So we've
Your
got-
number 4.
I'm not my number 4. Wow. It's getting close now because we're going to be on our top 3. My number 4, head torch.
There you go.
Head torch. I kind of already mentioned the social media one. I said multimedia, but social media with the secateurs. So that's that one done. number
Okay,
4.
so we're going to move on
we
to
are into our
top 3.
top 3. Now this is what I've been really waiting for, because we've gone through quite a few good items already.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting where they've sat. So this is where I'm interested.
Because
to see
some have come up a
what-
few times.
What we consider is those 3 top of the list important things to get somebody.
Okay.
So over to you.
My number 3. A Polish Army Lavu.
Polish Army Lavu.
Now, it's made out of 2 ponchos that kind of button together
Yep.
to kind of make this small little tent.
Yeah, makes a Lavu.
What's great about it is the fact that it can be put up in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, I
Easy.
mean, Yeah.
A
Are you
pole,
familiar with the
couple of
Lavu
pegs.
sets?
I've heard of them. I've heard it pronounced lavu before.
Lavu,
Yeah.
lavu.
Are these the ones that you can also wrap around trees and use the tree as a centre pole?
You wouldn't use a tree as a centre pole.
Depends how thick the tree
I
is.
can't remember where I've
There-
seen that before. I've seen.
There are
tents do that,
different.
but-
There are different ways to put them up, because they come with a sectional centre pole.
You can put the
the-
actual pegs in.
There's kind of a bit pointless wrapping it around a tree. If you're going to do that, you just get a stick.
I think I've
If you
seen
haven't got
quite-
if you haven't got the centre pole that comes with it, you just cut any old stick that is the right
Yeah.
length.
The ones I've seen that I keep looking at deserve wantingly are the Savota ones.
Right. Well, a Lavu, as Zak's already said, they are basically 2 army ponchos.
Yeah.
So it's literally a poncho that will go over your backpack and cover you completely, and they're pretty long, so down to the ground. They come in 3 sizes: size 1, 2, and 3. The only difference is the size 1 has one where the door, if you like, is, where you button the ponchos together. You can use either side. You can use them as a half shelter. You don't have to put them together. You can have like a half lavoo shelter, but at the bottom it will have a grommet at the bottom, one singular grommet. Or the size 2 will have 2 grommets, and size 3 will have 3 grommets, and it kind of just it gives you probably a difference of about 5 inches in its difference. I've heard some people who say that they're like 6'2", they go for a size 3 because they don't fit in a size 1. But it is a huge, massive difference. So yeah, the lavoos, and again, putting the lavoos up, you can use the centre pole, you can use a tri-pole where you put 3 poles together in order to then give yourself more room without having to negotiate around a pole. I tend to carry, whenever I'm out, I like a walking stick. And if I'm going with my lavoo, I've got a walking stick that's already cut to the right length for me.
Which is handy.
So I don't have to look for a stick when I'm out. I can just literally just peg it out, stick the walking stick
Bish
up,
bosh,
and
done.
It's done.
Tense
Other people will go out and find a stick, cut it to length, or if they're going back to a permission or somewhere where they've camped before, they'll have a stick and they'll chuck it in the bushes and they know where it is and bring it back out again. Or you can take the peak of it and tie some cordage around it, and then hook it over a branch or something, as long as obviously you're not under anything that's what we call a widow maker, which is where there's any danger. You can literally string it up, or you could go for a piece of paracord between 2 places and then hoist it up.
So many different options.
So many different options you can do.
Now, one of the reasons I thought this is in my top 3 was because at the time I actually bought it, it was about 50 quid.
Yeah, I was going to get to that. Yeah.
Now, it was £50 at the time I bought it off of Amazon. It was like an
I
army surplus one.
Yeah, I think even you say you bought it from Amazon, but most army surplus places like Military Mart and that, I think they were 45, 50 quid.
Yeah. But unfortunately, now
they've become so popular.
Yeah.
They are 120 up.
Yeah, which is crazy.
It's crazy prices for it. And the funny thing is, when I was a kid back in the 70s, I had literally the same size of tent. It wasn't 2 army ponchos, but it was called a sombrero tent. The more generic term for this type of tent is a bell tent. Literally, it's just a circular bell shape. Some people call the lavoos, they call them a teepee tent, but they're not really like a teepee. A teepee is much different. It's a lot taller, and obviously traditionally teepees were covered in skins. The lavoo is low because in the tundra up in Finland and places like that, when you've got the snow coming in, you want it low down and to be survive against those kind of winds in the conditions. But you can also get another one, which is the Hungarian Zeltbahn.
No, I haven't heard of that.
Hungarian Zeltbahn, I believe, the translation of Zeltbahn is simply tent canvas. So,
well,
again,
there you go.
The reason I bring it up, because it just sprung to mind, the Zeltbahn, or Hungarian lavoo, army lavoo, they tend to be camo, whereas the Polish lavoos are green, just a dark green. I'm sure I've seen some people out there with some blue ones as well. I don't know where they come from, or whether they're reproductions made by somebody else. I don't know.
Who knows?
But the Zeltbahn is the same sort of size. I think it's a tiny bit smaller than the lavoo. The Polish lavoo, but that is more pyramid in its shape. It's square,
Oh, okay.
So you peg it out square at the bottom. But
That'd be interesting to see.
Still a single pole, and that has aluminium buttons opposed to your plastic buttons. And but there you go, variations. But I believe that the Hungarian Zeltbahn lavoo is still at a reasonable price, and that doesn't mean you should go and put the prices up.
Buy them while you can.
Buy them while you can, yeah. But
there you go.
Okay, so that was yours.
Yep. Number 3, Jack.
Number 3, I have got Osprey water bottle, the plastic Osprey water bottle. I had one in here last time. I don't have it with me today.
Yep.
Because they're great. And everyone needs water bottles, so I put it in the top 3.
Okay, is that I can't remember? Has that got the folding straw top on it? Or?
No, it's just a screw plastic top with a little plastic thing on it, so you can't misplace it or anything.
Right. Okay.
I think it's the British military bottle.
Okay. Yeah.
Fits in the Crusader cup.
That's good.
Exactly.
Mine
Yeah, I know what you're talking about now.
Mine came as a kit with the bottle and the cup.
So. I had a mind blank there. It's the black
Yes,
bottle that comes in the Crusader kit. Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go.
And you can get you can pick those up for mine myself.
I think
Yeah, get several.
They're about 10 quid, I
Yeah,
think. Last I checked. I think I
and
got
you
mine
can-
for about 10, 15 quid from Ray Mears' site.
And if you come across those and they've got the grommet plug in the top, they are for when you've got a gas mask on for a breathing apparatus, so you can have a drinking bottle.
Yeah.
So some of them come with the with a little
That's
grommet in the
interesting.
top.
Yeah, I've got one that's
You've
got
got
that.
one
Yeah.
that's got that. Yeah, that's for when you're wearing your breathing apparatus. So, yeah. So no, very handy bottle. Right. So my number 3, books. Now we mentioned books before, so I won't spend too much time on this. But I had books, and under that I had a sub-listing of
Books for Christmas?
Books for Christmas.
What the heck is that?
So I had a subsection. So bushcraft and survival books, knot books, so books so people can practice different knots because
Not books.
Yeah,
not
books. I would like not books for Christmas.
Yes.
Oh, he wants anything but books.
Okay. But knots are a very handy thing that everybody needs to learn.
Tying knot books.
So if you can learn to do some of those, nice Prusik knot and things to get the
Figure of eight.
tension on
Yeah.
your tarp line and things
Good
like that.
stuff. Clovitch.
Yes, yeah. First, this is where I mentioned briefly when I mentioned about a first aid kit. First aid book comes under that because to have knowledge in that.
Knowledge is power.
Foraging book,
Yes.
which is what you also mentioned. Identification of plants, okay, just as much as I identify, and I've got fungi down here, and also tracking animals and identification as well. So you've got a huge, for the listeners who want ideas when it comes to books, we did mention SAS book, you did mention foraging book.
Extreme survival.
Yeah, you've got so many things you can choose from. Yeah, there's a huge list. So books, and I'm now going to go back to the Facebook, and we have got a power bank. That's from Wayne Hadley, and he's off the UK Preppers and Survivalists, I believe. So a power bank.
Yeah.
I purchased one recently. I think you have the similar one, the solar charging one.
Yeah, the solar charger one. I found that very
About-
handy
about 30
actually.
quid. I've
Yeah.
found it difficult to use in the past couple of weeks. It's
Yeah.
been extremely cloudy.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
It was charging extremely slowly,
Right.
so I've been charging it up off my PlayStation.
No, that's fine. I mean,
they are.
I generally on an everyday basis, if I use that power bank and I run it down, then I will just plug it in the mains
Yep.
and charge it up.
Mhm.
But it's the fact that it has the facility that if you're out and about, you can stick
When
it
I
in,
had it,
in the
I
sun.
think the first day I got it, I just put it on because it was like, don't leave in a car. When it's 4 degrees outside, I'm going to leave it in the car. It'll be fine.
Mhm.
I put it on my dashboard and it charged up across the course of a day about half the thing, and it's quite a big power
Right.
bank. So
Is that the one
yeah.
that's got the triple fold?
Yes. Yeah, it's about 30 quid on
Yeah,
Amazon. Waited to the Black Friday.
Yeah.
So and it was very good.
Yeah.
Charged up about half its thing in a day
Mhm.
from solar. So
And you can get quite a few
Very
that
good.
that aren't solar powered that are much more budget
Yep.
price than that, you know.
your
There you go.
£6 one, battery powered one that you bought in the last.
So my number 3 was books. Now
Yes.
we're coming on to the top 2.
Top 2.
Top 2.
Okay. Top 2 for me, well, number 2 is a heavy duty fire striker with the emphasis on not small. So this is again this ferro
Yep.
rod
The ferro
thing.
rod.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got the ferro rod. Over you, Jack.
My number 2, I put penknife with the thought of the open all penknives because they were quite cheap.
Yeah,
And
don't get me wrong,
you
it's
had
not a
your-
bad
your
knife.
thoughts on them,
It's
but
not-
yeah, I
they are
like
not
them.
bad
It was
knives
my
at
first-
all.
My first penknife when I was a kid was an open all one.
Yeah.
Very
It
sharp.
was very
They are
good.
very sharp.
Spent hours just. I'd go with my dad. We'd go shooting, and I'd be bored out of my mind, and my feet would be freezing, and he'd be shooting. And I was like, I wish I could be doing that. And I'd be
Yeah.
sat there with my penknife that I think my godfather James bought me.
Have you
And
still
I'd
got
sit
it?
there. I don't.
Oh, bless.
I don't know where it went. But I'd sit there for ages, and I'd pick these plants out of the ditch. I don't know what they were, but they were sort of very light. I don't know what they were. Hollow inside.
Sounds like cow parsley, maybe.
Yeah, possibly like that. They were very dry and they were easily cut. And I was just a kid. I just cut them for hours and hours.
It's
There
great.
you go.
There you go. Superb.
I keep you occupied.
They keep you- and again, I will emphasize they are a good knife. Just have to watch that on ferrule. That's all.
Yeah.
My number 2, life straw.
Wow.
See,
Okay.
which was right back to your number 10.
That was my number 10.
And I thought that because it's a way of making sure you've got plenty of fresh water.
Well, you need water to
You
survive,
need
so.
water. So
I
that,
didn't put live straw on mine at all.
that came
It
in-
was
Oh, no,
the
you-
first thing I thought of as well was live straw, and then I was going to put it as my number 1, and I haven't. I've changed it for something silly.
Thankfully, we've got it covered.
We've got it covered. Now, in a situation we're getting all the gear together, aren't we?
And we've even got spares.
Spares. As I say, 1 is none, 2 is 1.
There you go.
I'm not going to now refer to the list from social media because we've run out of social media suggestions.
Okay.
So that just leaves us with the number 1 spot.
Number 1.
This is what we would go to if we were going to.
Can I suggest for this one, because mine is silly, that we go this way around?
Okay. Mine, and I base this on. I'm going to give you a little story. I was on a film job last October, so a year ago. Not October just gone, but October last year, and I was away in my van camping on location for a month, and other people that were filming on this project were coming and going, and I was with a small group of people. There were 6 of us that were. I can't really tell you the stuff because of NDAs, but there was 6 of us that were a core group in this film shoot. And so we spent all our time together for a whole month, apart from when it got to the end of the day and everybody else left site, but I had my camper van, so I stayed there, and me and the security guard who had his camper van, we had a good old conversation. So, look at my camper van, what the fuck am I camper van? As you do. But I wasn't leaving site, okay, apart from when it got to a weekend. And when we got towards the end of that shoot, throughout that shoot, because people were leaving site, they were coming back in from our group and they were bringing little gifts in. And by the end of it, I thought I'd kind of felt, and some of the last gifts were, there was three ladies, 3 gents, and one of the ladies brought us all in kind of like little Christmas gift. And the shoot was extended by 3 days. And because I hadn't been leaving site, I kind of felt like I had got the opportunity to go and do any kind of shopping or anything. Mm-hmm. But because they extended it for 3 days, it meant that the last weekend I came back, I thought, right, what am I going to get everybody? What am I going to get everybody as a gift? To it just right. And I thought, what would I give them?
Mm-hmm.
So I make tinder pouches, and that's not my number 1 by the way, but I make leather tinder pouches. And I thought the best gift that I can give them personally for myself was the gift of fire, and that's what I've got on my number 1. Back to the ferro rod, the gift.
Oh, there you go.
Fire lighting. So I gave them all a ferro rod in a leather tinder pouch. The 3 chaps, I gave them their ferro rods and some tinder and stuff, because I know blokes, they kind of like it. The ladies go, I don't know what that is. Not being sexist or anything, but what I did with the ladies is because they were very much, or spent a month with them, I kind of knew what they were like, what they liked to do. So I got them all scented candles to go in there, so they could light the candles, cool. So they could have scented candles for Christmas. So and they loved it. But the gift was, what can I give somebody? The gift of fire. Because cool. Fire is the thing the element for me. I mean, obviously you need water as well, but fire is that thing that keeps us warm, cooks our food, keeps us safe. And mankind, if we hadn't discovered how to manipulate fire, we wouldn't have all the things we have now. Because
we probably wouldn't be able to be doing this podcast.
Not at all.
Because fire has allowed humans to alter things and to manufacture things and such. So fire, and that's why that's at the top of my list.
That's very cool.
So anyway, yours was the funny one.
Yes, what have you got?
You're coming in last place.
Now, this one I chose as the fact that, okay, if I'm on a desert island, what is the one thing I would want?
I know this. I know Twinkies.
Not Twinkies.
Twinkie loves Twinkies.
Not Twinkies.
Give me my Twinkies!
It can be like that sometimes, especially when they're really pricey. But one thing I would want on a desert island is my British Army survival knife.
Ah, the pig. That's a common name for it.
Is it?
The pig, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it used to be in the vehicle's toolbox, toolkit. In fact, I've got one just behind you.
Oh, I can get it.
Yeah, I can get it. Then Jack will know what we're talking about. It's hanging up right in front of you.
Oh, yeah. So it blends in.
It's just outside the studio.
Oh, they're very heavy.
Yeah, but it is one big chunk of steel.
The thickness of the one I'm making out of the file, then.
It means the business.
It really does. It's very cool.
You can do pretty much anything with that. It's literally a hand axe.
Yeah.
But you can't bust it.
Good for splitting.
You can't bust it. It gets a real good edge on it. It's great for
easy to sharpen.
Easy to sharpen.
Very good.
An amazing.
You can
spark
use it as a hammer.
Yeah, you can have pry bar.
Yeah, anything.
I mean, we have literally built an Anglo-Saxon village using those.
Very
knives.
good. Very good.
So that's your number one.
That's my number one. I love that knife to pieces.
It has over the years proven itself.
It's proven itself.
It's not the fanciest of knives.
Oh, it's beautiful.
You
it's
love
beautiful.
It. You love
it's beautiful.
Other people will say it's just a big chunk of steel.
Fantastic.
It is
awesome.
It is, for me, it's my go-to camp knife.
No nonsense. No nonsense.
They do anything from really fine feathering, doing feather sticks. Well, it just does everything.
To splitting logs.
Splitting logs, as the bushcrafters like to say, processing, wood processing. Yes, it'll do pretty much everything. I think that my other finer knives, I'll just use those for cooking and stuff like that. But there you go. So yours is the British Army, as it's generally referred to, survival knife. Yeah.
Yes.
Jack, you get the pride of place of being the...
I do, but it's been kind of spoiled. Mine was Twinkies.
Oh no!
Give him a round of applause for that one.
We could be Twinkie brothers.
Twinkie brothers.
I tried so hard to get Twinkies to bring in as well today, and they don't sell them in Tesco's anymore.
Oh.
Well, if I went out to my stores, I have got Twinkies in the rations.
How old are they?
That doesn't really matter, does it?
This is the thing. I looked it up, and apparently they're not invincible. They go off after like 25 days.
No. They're the food of the ancients.
I imagine that's if
Inkies.
they're opened. I imagine they last forever unopened.
You've seen Mortal Engines, haven't you?
I really wanted to watch that, and I was very excited about watching it, and I started watching it and I fell asleep. Not because it was boring, because I was absolutely knackered, and I must get back round to watching it.
There was a scene in that where they're eating the food of the ancients. It's like, how old are these? They're like several thousand years old or something.
Oh, I need to watch this.
And the packaging, of course, has worn off. And what are these? They're called Inkies.
No, I must go back and watch that.
Okay.
I was enjoying it until I fell asleep.
So there you go. We've got our top 10 Christmas gift ideas.
There you go.
For the preppers, bushcrafters and survivalists, the Holy Trinity.
Very good.
Okie dokie, so that brings us to our word of the week. And the word of the week was...
Crepuscular.
Have you worked out what it means, Jack?
No, but...
You can take a stab in the dark.
I'm going to have a guess and say that I think it's a thing.
I
think it's a thing. I think it's a thing. And I think it's the space between the glass and the image on your television.
Right. Okay.
That's certainly something I would.
I lost it in the crepuscular.
How would you put that in a sentence?
Okay. Crepuscular means resembling or relating to twilight, or in zoology, of an animal appearing or active in twilight.
So that would be at dawn or dusk.
Yes.
Cool.
Such as a bat.
A bat.
Very cool.
Crepuscular.
I think I've heard this word before. Was it mentioned on your bat podcast?
Possibly. It has origins in the mid-17th century from the Latin crepusculum, meaning twilight.
Very cool.
Crepuscular.
Today
Crepuscular.
I learned a thing.
Crepuscular.
Well done in the comments if you got it right.
Yay! Well done.
Jack, have you enjoyed coming back on the podcast?
I certainly have.
Would you like to come back again?
I certainly would.
There you go.
Yeah, I think you're going to be a regular because we need you in for the prepping podcast.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we're going to do
I
several more
enjoy
of these.
this. I'm learning much as well.
Well, we need to go back and cover the water,
Yep.
cover the different things about food, as well as
There's
all
so many
stuff.
different things we could talk about when it comes to
There
prepping.
really
That's
is.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe to this channel and comment below any suggestions of topics or activities you'd like to listen to in future episodes. You can find the Now We Know Show podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music and Apple Podcasts. Check out the Zak Wylde Productions social media pages on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, or visit the Zak Wylde Productions website at www.zakwyldeproductions.com. Please get in contact, we'd love to find out how you're listening to us. So get in touch in the comments and don't forget to check out Zak Wylde Productions on Patreon to become an official ZWP patron today. That's a big, crepuscular goodbye from Zak.
I don't have one.
Twinkies.
How can I fit Twinkies into a goodbye?
Just say Twinkies.
Twinkies!
Twinkies. Goodbye from Jack over there. And I don't know. A fire striker goodbye from Buzz. There you go.
Goodbye.
Practice your fire striking skills. Go for it. Goodbye.